So may I please just get your name, surname?
Okay, so must I look at Canon?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, your name, surname?
I'm Nompumelelo Mqwebu. The director of Africa Meets Europe Cuisine, which is the organization that organizes and runs Mzansi International Culinary Festival. And this year we are back at Dinswalo Waterfall Estate, hosting the festival once more. And we are super excited that this year we've really upped the level, as we have Michelin star chefs, Michelin dinners, working with our local chefs and lifting our South African cuisine and cuisine from Africa to other heights.
Okay. Why was it important to give this exposure to African and South African chefs?
Because first of all, African cuisine has not been developed to the level that food in Europe and even America is at, and we have a lot of work to do. So in doing that work, we're partnering with chefs from around the world, especially in Europe, to come into South Africa and showcase their skill and their talent. And we want to learn and borrow from that using our own ingredients and take our food as a country to another level while we showcase our rich culture.
Okay, can you tell me the skills that they have learned maybe from their international counterparts?
Wow, the most exciting one for me personally, when we started talking with especially the chef from France, who has been brought by the chef from Kenya because she works at a Warwick Hotel in Opera in Paris. When we went through the menu and they designed what they would showcase here in South Africa for the Michelin dinner that we had last night, I then told them that my favorite vegetable is amadumbe, and I gave them the scientific name, which is taro root. And fortunately, because I had cooked in Paris before, I knew exactly where they could get it. It's an Indian market which is in Paris, so I told them, go and get amadumbe, and I need you to make one dish out of amadumbe. And last night our starter was amadumbe, and I was blown away, because the first thing they did, they made a terrine with amadumbe and stacked it perfectly, and then they did the chips. But what really wowed everybody, they made a mousse out of amadumbe, and they added cream, and they use it's called siphon cuisine, which is like a flask that people use for cream, and it uses gas, which if you put a product in there, it makes the product lighter and fluffier, and that's what it did to the mousse with amadumbe. I was just blown away. It was amazing. But they didn't stop there. They also used the skin and made it crispy. And it was fascinating. You had the whole product there, from the skin to the different ways that it was prepared. So for me, that's just 100% displayed what we want to do when we talk about taking African cuisine to another level, using the skills that we learn from Europe and other parts of the world.
Okay, so can you tell me in a broad sense about women participation in the culinary arts as well as in this industry, please, Kay?
Wow, it's been a tough one, where women quite marginalized. Transformation is very slow and almost non-existent in this industry in terms of race, but primarily gender. And we're seeing fewer and fewer women in positions of leadership, which is executive chef, head chef, and even sous level. And I often hear people nowadays, when I challenge them about that, talking about, oh, but we have a sous chef in our hotel. And it's like, yeah, how many chefs have you got in the whole hotel? To then say, yeah, I've got a one woman whom I made a sous chef. And to show that, it's not unique to us. Chef Rose was sharing that in Paris, when she was actually promoted, she said some men felt so strongly that they actually resigned and left the hotel because they were not going to have a woman give them orders. And that's how bad it gets. But what I've then done, you got to work positively. I can't just be complaining and moaning. I've started working with young chefs, and predominantly girls, in the government culinary schools, and that's also not by mistake. It's focused because I find that today, when I look at the equipment and the level of quality of education that is provided in government culinary schools is not adequate to get a chef out there and be confident that they will make it out there. They don't get the exposure. The big cooking schools always use private cooking school students, so the students from government cooking school never get the opportunity to work with international chefs or chefs at the level of Michelin star chefs, which is a big thing, because as we sit as a country, we do not have one Michelin star chef.
Wow.
I know we lately saying we're proud there's a Michelin star chef in Paris who's from South Africa, but he's a Michelin star chef through French food and French technique. So we need our own cuisine and our own techniques taking us to Michelin star. So, you know, I'm working towards that, exposing the young people. They have to work very hard. They have to understand that the industry is not easy, just like all other industries. I mean, before it's been said that it has to do with the working hours or the hard work in the culinary, which is actually not true, because nursing, for instance, women work night shift. Women lift bodies, heavy men and women. You know, they work with some gruesome things. So we know that women in nature are strong and they can handle anything. Thus, this very industry is not tough for women. Women can make it. They just need opportunities to be open for them. And we need, and maybe sometimes we do need to adapt some things to suit some women as well, as chefs in San Francisco have done. And thus you have a lot of advanced female chefs in San Francisco than any other part of the world.
Okay. Just as a final word, can you tell me what you want this culinary festival to be? What the future of it do you see? Do you see more women participation? Do you see more women from disadvantaged backgrounds, as you've touched on? Just tell me.
Oh yes, most definitely. I mean, starting with the very young chefs. We have a competition called Star Chef Competition, which we will run in August this year. And the student that won it the last time is leaving for Ireland in September, where she's going for an internship. Now we're using that as a motivation for the other young chefs who know that they must work hard, and if they go and compete in Star Chef, they get an opportunity to go overseas, because that's exposure and, you know, new learning as well. But over and above that, we are working with female in the hospitality industry. Today we have Ubongi Chazi, who's a wine sommelier, who will be doing all the dishes and wine pairing for us. She started last night. And we also have Untutu, who owns Ntutugo Catering, and she's the one that will be providing all the VIP catering upstairs. And most of the young girls that are out there working with the chefs are all girls. Now, what I'm finding, the girls that learned from the dishes from last year, this year can do them. I have now young chefs that can cook Nigerian dishes, they can do dishes from Senegal, dishes from Uganda, and they're from South Africa. So that forms social cohesion and growth. As a country, we now know about the spices, we now know about food and culture from Nigeria, because when these dishes are shared, they don't just share a dish. They tell us about what it means for them as the Nigerian people. You know, we know more about plantains now. It's not just about deep frying them and all of that. So we get to connect with the rest of Africa as a people. So I'm hoping that as the festival grows, the focus continues to be food, and we want the foodies to be the ones to push us out of the small space that we're in to grow even bigger. But we want to just stay in focus with food and learn more about our different cultures, Venda, the San, the Dutch, the Tsonga like we had last year, the Zulu, the Xhosa, the Shangaan. So every year we're changing, which is why they say we have a lady from Venda who will be showcasing food. And even that we need to learn and then showcase. And we hope that in the end it's going to influence the face of food in South Africa around all our establishments.
Perfect. Thank you so much.